Welcome to Getting Started with Voiceover and Apple TV, produced by TTJ Tech Services of www.ttjtech.biz. Well, hello there, I'm Trainer Matt from TTJ Tech Services, and I want to welcome you to this special Quick Start Primer session on tvOS and VoiceOver for your Apple TV. Now, when conducting training sessions like this, we need to make some assumptions. So first, we'll assume that you have already physically connected or that you are able to connect either yourself or with some sighted assistance your Apple TV set-top box to an HDMI port on your television and to an available electrical outlet. We're also going to assume that you either already have the initial setup process complete for your Apple TV or that you can set it up with VoiceOver or with the assistance of a sighted family member, friend, or coworker. Finally, it would be most helpful and beneficial if you had a basic understanding of VoiceOver for iOS already. If you are not familiar with using VoiceOver on devices like an iPhone or iPad, we encourage you to listen to our Quick Start Primer for VoiceOver on iOS, getting started with VoiceOver and the iPhone. And remember, we have additional courses, both paid and free, for you to go farther and take things to the next level. This does include Apple TV, iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, HomePod, and much more. Let's learn the remote. Before we can begin using the Apple TV, we need to become familiar with the layout of the Apple Siri remote. Holding the remote in your hand, you will feel the all-aluminum structure, and we will know that we are holding it correctly when we find that the bottom edge, the edge closest to our bodies, has the USB-C or Lightning port where we can plug in the remote for charging. The top edge of the remote contains an infrared device that can control volume of sound bars and TVs, etc. Then we'll move up to the top of the Siri remote, and we will locate at the very top right corner a single round button. This is the power button. Press and hold this power button to turn on or off the Apple TV and any connected devices such as TVs and soundbars. Moving down from the top right corner power button, we find a round circle. This is our click pad. It works both as a touchpad and a click wheel. That is, you can swipe one finger left to right, right to left, up and down, and you can also click various points in this circle. You can click the right side, the left side, the top, or the bottom. In the center is a button which you click to select or activate. Now, if you are familiar with VoiceOver from iOS, you'll know that the basic swipe gestures left to right will move item by item. On the Apple TV, we will often be able to also move up and down by item with swipes up or down. But if you prefer not to swipe, you can click the top, bottom, right, or left of the click device. This click pad, as I mentioned, can also be used as a trackpad. If you prefer to disable trackpad gestures entirely, you can do this later. This can be done from settings on your Apple TV. Again, to activate, to open an app, to enter a character on the on-screen keyboard, to click a link, to press a button. This activation is always done by clicking the center button, that is, clicking the center of the circle. We do not double tap to activate. We click the center of the touchpad and click wheel. Now let's look at the buttons below the click pad. The top left button, a slightly concave or indented button, is the back button. This will take you back to previous menus. The top right button, just located directly to the right of the indented back button, is the TV button. Going back to the left, moving down below the indented back button, is the play-pause button. Let's stay on the left side and go one more down to the bottom left button on the remote, which is the mute button. Now, move back to the right and go directly below the TV button, and you will find the long volume button. This is a bar. You can press the bottom to decrease the volume, and you can press the top to increase the volume. So again, the power button is located at the very top right corner of the remote. Directly below it is the click pad. To review the buttons below that, there is the back button on the left, TV button to its right, play pause button, second row on the left, volume up button directly to its right, mute button on the bottom left, and volume down button directly to the right of that. Finally, there is one more button on the side of the remote. Located on the right side is a long button which you can use to speak with Siri by pressing and holding the button while speaking your requests. Apple TV setup. If you will be performing the setup process yourself with VoiceOver, as soon as you plug in the Apple TV, know that it begins to power up. Once your television is turned on and switched to the correct input, sighted users will see the Apple logo, followed by a prompt to click the click pad to pair the remote. Now, you will immediately be able to turn VoiceOver on with the accessibility shortcut. If you are an iPhone or iPad user, you might be familiar with the accessibility shortcut as a triple click. The same is true on tvOS. To perform the accessibility shortcut, triple click or press 3 times the top left button, that is the indented, slightly concave back button. Press that button 3 times to turn VoiceOver on during setup. If you do turn VoiceOver on during setup, much like with the iPhone, the accessibility shortcut will be automatically set to toggle VoiceOver from then on. If, however, you used sighted assistance and did not use VoiceOver during initial setup, you'll have to turn VoiceOver on in another way and then manually configure the accessibility shortcut to VoiceOver if you so choose. As with iOS and iPadOS, you can find the VoiceOver toggle under Settings, Accessibility, and VoiceOver. Click on the switch to turn it on. Remember, this clicking is performed by pressing the center of the trackpad clickpad circle. It is also important to note that you can use Siri to turn VoiceOver on or off. Simply hold the side button, that long button on the right-hand side of the remote, and say, turn on VoiceOver. You can also say, turn off VoiceOver. Finally, if you set the triple click accessibility shortcut from Settings, Accessibility, General, and Accessibility Shortcut, if you set this to VoiceOver, you will be able from then on to simply triple click, that is, press 3 times quickly, the top left button, that concave back button, to turn VoiceOver on and off. This is a great way to quickly toggle the state of VoiceOver. Now, this tutorial is designed to teach you the very basics of VoiceOver navigation, and we would encourage you to read the Apple TV User Guide later to learn how to actually operate your Apple TV. But we will give you a couple of tips. For example, the back button can be triple clicked for the accessibility shortcut. You can also press and hold the back button for about 1 second to be taken completely out of any app and back to the home screen. Now, as with iPhone and iPad, the home screen is where most of your apps or all of your apps are located. The top row of apps contains top shelf content. You can swipe up from the top row to hear what that top shelf content is, if there is any available. To navigate, simply click or swipe in any direction on the circle. To move to the right, click the right side of the circle. This will take you to the next app icon. This same click gesture will work in just about any app. To move back to the left, click or swipe to the left. To activate whatever you are on, simply click the center button. The home screen is laid out in a grid format, and so it is also possible to click down to go to the next row of apps or to click up to go to the previous row. And again, this works in most any app as well. If you are finding that when VoiceOver is on, you are unable to move in all 4 directions, this may be because you are in exploration mode instead of navigation mode. To learn more about navigation versus exploration mode, consult the Apple TV User Guide, VoiceOver section, or consult our digital cafe and course on using the Apple TV. To quickly switch from exploration mode to navigation mode, place 2 fingers on the circle and tap 3 times. Do not click, tap. That is a 2-finger triple tap quickly on the trackpad circle. This will toggle you between navigation mode and exploration mode, and vice versa.
TV, row 1,
Exploration, navigation.
Music, navigation, podcasts, TV.
Now, once we are in the navigation mode, everything I've described will work. You can click or swipe in all 4 directions, up, down, left, and right, in any app, including on the home screen, and you can click the center button in order to activate what you've clicked. Let's listen to what that sounds like. For example, my first icon, I'm already as far left as I can go, but I can click to the right.
Music, row 1, column 2, top shelf content available.
I can click back to the left.
TV, row 1, column 1, top shelf content available.
If I want to see that top shelf content, I can swipe up or click up.
Up next, The King of Queens, next episode, season 8, episode 14, 1 of 20.
I can go back down.
TV, row 1, column 1, top shelf content available.
I can click the center button to open the TV app.
TV, row 1. Press back or navigate back to show sidebar.
And again, I can use the back button as it described. I can move left, right, up, and down in this TV app to see what's available. Anything I want to select, I simply click the center button to select it. Finally, I can press the back button.
Selected, home, button, 2 of 7.
As promised, it takes me to the sidebar, but one more press of it, or if I had pressed and held it for a second, will take me now.
TV, row 1, column 1, top shelf content available.
Back out of the app and back to the home screen.
Button.
I can also press the down side of the circle to go to the next row.
App Store, Netflix, recently updated, row 3,
back up.
column Canary, YouTube, Netflix, App Store, TV, row 1, column 1.
I can move
top
quickly
shelf
by
content
pressing the
available.
right side or any direction repeatedly.
Art Fitness, FaceTime.
And I can also swipe very quickly. And for example, if I want to keep moving to the left, I don't have to swipe one item at a time. I can move very quickly by continuing to swipe.
Photo, Muse TV, row 1, column 1, top shelf content available.
When I wish to open something, again, I simply click on it. Also accessible from the home screen is the control center. To activate the control center, press and hold the TV button just to the right of the back button.
Control center, button. Power off, 1 of 9.
The control
Selected
center
user.
has
Control center,
several rows
button.
that we're on. The far
Power off, home
left
kit,
is
button.
actually
Control
HomeKit. Listen to that.
Control home kit, button.
We can go to the right,
Control center, user.
and that's it.
Control center, button.
Whichever one we pick, we can
Power
then
off,
swipe
1 of 9.
or click
Selected.
down.
Power off, 1 of 9. Selected, Wi-Fi. Matthew, Carson. Power
And we
off.
can continue
1 of
moving
9
through the
TV,
control
row
center.
1,
When we're
column
finished,
1,
we press the
top
back
check,
button.
control.
Now, to move through the control center, you can use all 4 directional arrows, but if you go far enough to the right, you will go to the next category. So then you can move back to the left and try going up or down. And as with iPhone, iPad, etc., the control center contains use of common controls, which we can access to adjust Wi-Fi, sleep timer, AirPlay, and a variety of other options. We may encounter situations where we need to enter characters in an app. This will bring up the on-screen keyboard. It is not laid out in a QWERTY form. It is typically laid out across A through Z, all in one row. And if you swipe or click down, you will be able to change then by moving left and right from letters to numbers, punctuation, symbols, etc. Uppercase and lowercase are also available, and you can quickly toggle upper versus lowercase by simply pressing the play-pause button when on the on-screen keyboard. Then, simply swipe left and right or click left and right to move to the letter you want and press the center button to insert it. You can also typically dictate in edit fields instead of having to type by pressing and holding the side button. You can speak punctuation and speak anything you want into the dictate option. In addition to that, you can typically use your iPhone or iPad to type on the screen of your Apple TV. When you are in an edit field on the Apple TV, a notification will appear on your connected devices, iPhone and iPad, asking you whether you'd like to use the on-screen keyboard of those devices to type. Another scenario you will find yourself in is a playback scenario when actually watching TV, movies, etc. In this case, you can press quickly and release the left or right sides of the clickpad on the Siri remote to jump back by either 10 or 15 or possibly 30 seconds, depending on the app, and sometimes other increments. And you can repeatedly press to quickly rewind or fast forward. Some apps also support holding down either side of the button or using a timeline by scrubbing. To use the timeline, first pause the content that is being played. Now you can pause the content by pressing the play pause button or by clicking the center of the clickpad. To resume playback, press again the center of the clickpad or the play pause button. During playback, it is also typically possible to swipe down or in some cases to swipe up to bring up additional controls. Depending on the app, these will bring up options to start playback from the beginning of the program, to bring up subtitles, audio description, and much more. Additionally, it is possible to use Siri during playback in most apps to, for example, rewind 15 seconds, fast forward 5 minutes, or a variety of other commands. Now, the Apple TV is a tremendous, wonderful, and very capable device when it comes to watching TV, and so we highly encourage you to learn more about it. To do this, check out our sessions on TV for the 21st century, using Apple TV with Voiceover, and of course, the Apple TV User Guide. And don't forget to check out our sessions, both paid and free, on Voiceover in and out, iPad for all computing, and more, because what can be done on the Apple TV can, in many cases, also be done on your other devices. We thank you for tuning in. Please check out our other paid and free sessions because we have so much more to offer you, and we really hope that you will take advantage of it. We want to thank you for joining us, and for now, this is Trainer Matt of TTJ saying God bless you, and see you next time.